right. Good evening and a good moed to everyone. Chol moed Pesach. So Baruch Hashem, we have this tremendous opportunity to learn Likutey Moharan. Terech Chav Gimel. We have established that the very source, the very root of death, of depression, of Avodah Zarah, of Tumah, is greed, is Taivas Mammon. And we've mentioned that when they asked him, this is the debate of Rabbi Yeshua and Hanania and the elders of Athens, that they tell us words of falsehood. And he tells them, we had a female mule that gave birth to a fowl that had a tzattel hanging on its neck, it's a tzavor, a will and testament, that it owed the father 100,000 zuz, and that was one thing. So they said to him, how's it possible? A mule doesn't give birth, it's sterile. And he says, yeah, those are words of falsehood. And then they ask him, salt that rots. How do you salt it to prevent it from rotting? So we said that the whole question and answer, if you take a look at the pshat of the words, seems not doesn't make sense, but in effect it is nonsensical. I mean, they tell us words of falsehood, and he tells them, and he says, no, that's not true. I mean, what's going on here? They said, tell us words of falsehood. So he tells them something, they tell him it's not true. And that's what you're asking for. But it seems like almost a name. I mean, even children will play like that. It's like, tell us a lie, tell us something. No, it's a lie. I mean, please. But the answer is that they asked him, what is the source of falsehood? And you've been dealing with that Nakuda, specifically during Pesach, Tis Mitzrayim, getting out of the dominion of Parai. Parai is the letters of Parai is Otiyot HaOyef. That's the back of the neck is Inyef Parai. The front of the neck is Moshe, the back of the neck is Parai. What does the back of the neck stands for? We we said that basically Paroi, the Indian of the enslavement of Paroi of Mitzrayim, is the enslavement of a point of view. When a person is enslaved in a point of view, he cannot get out of it, because unless there's some kind of a real shock to the system, because everything that the person sees is seen and absorbed and interpreted from that particular point of view. So you can get as many proofs that deny and disprove your point of view. And because you're coming from that point of view, any data that you will get becomes absorbed and interpreted through the eyes of that point of view. So basically you remain the same as you are. And all the proof to the contrary is interpreted in your eyes as proof positive. And the reason why it's called the back of the neck is because that's like almost what you call the stem of the brain, as it were. You know what they call the primordial brain that is in charge of survival and renewal and peer review. It's very interesting that the whole concept, the whole argument, the whole union of the argument between the sages of Athens and Rabbi Yeshua Hanania starts from a discussion between Caesar and Rabbi Yeshua Hanania regarding how long does it take for, what is the gestation of a snake. So he tells him 7 years, and the Caesar says, but the scientist said it's 3 years. So he says that's because they don't realize it was already pregnant before, for 4 years before those 3 years that they were able to measure. And the reason why this is consequential is because this union of the snake, this poisoning of the point of view of the snake, that root is the it's not the cerebral brain, it's not even the limbic brain, it's the reptilian brain. You know, it's like the raw will, as you are, through which people see everything that they want to see. And the root of the lie is the fact that the snake was already impregnated before anybody noticed it. In other words, the dominion of Parai, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim from, is that underlying point of view which paints, it's the kind of color glasses that we have upon our feelings and our thoughts, that colors them, even behind our ability to discern what is really going on. So they asked him, what is the root of a lie? In other words, what is falsehood that is so basic, that is so primordial, that you exist in it and you know that it's a lie, but you can get out of it. And he told him that is greed. That's what greed is all about. Everybody knows money ultimately cannot save you. Money cannot really do anything for you. I mean, money is necessary, but money in and on itself is useless. When you use it for something, when you use it to buy food, when you use it to pay bills, when you use it to get a place to live, to give stock or whatever it is, then money is extremely high. But money in and on itself, money for its own sake, is total stupidity. And everybody knows that. What are you going to do with money? You can't eat money. But nevertheless, it's such a strong of a desire, such a strong lie that people live in it. So when he tells them that money is that greed is the source of all of the desires, of all the depressions, of everything else, the idea is that when a person does not believe that Kadosh Baruch Hu can sustain him easily, a person is basically doomed. He lives like under a dark star, as it were. I mean, he can't get out of it. It's like the laws of nature standing on their heads in order to make his reality upside down. Like they owe it to themselves, like it's a tzavah from their fathers. This is where we're holding until now. And that's why we said that really the only way to actually get out of that almost like hypnotic trance of greed is through Shmiras Habris. The kedusha, the purity. So that is signified with salt. So they told him, okay, what happens when salt becomes rotten? What do you salt it with? In other words, that question is, he tells them that with salt you can do that. With salt you can be misaken greed. And they wanted to know, they said, there's no such thing. Even the tzaddikim, nobody is such a tzaddik that is totally clean from that. So salt that rots, even the biggest tzaddikim, how do you salt it then? So he told them the placenta of a mule. He says, what is placenta of a mule? They said, the mule has no placenta. Placenta would Lamaisa we're talking over here, it's not so much a placenta, but as much as the womb of a mule. And this is no such thing. So he told them, because money in spiritual form is an incredibly high madrega. It's a very, very high Indian. The neshamas themselves, the nefashas themselves, they come from the place that money comes from. The spiritual place where money comes from. That's supernal lights of gold, silver, and copper. There's chesed, gvura, and tiferes. So a person can, if a person looks at the spiritual lights that from which money, trickles down from, manifests itself from, then a person can get away from greed. So since when does greed have a womb to come from? So he says, Anachinami, you're right. He says somebody who is clean, somebody who is misaken his brisai, who is clean from gamma bris, he does not fall into greed. There is a madrega that a person is clean from as far as from moral impurity, and at that particular level, greed does not have control over him. And now Rabbeinu says, basically gets into the pasuk, Anshe Domim v'Umirma, the people of blood and deceit, Lo yechetzu yameim. They are not going to cross half their days, as it is said in Tikkun Zar. It says as follows: Anshe Domim v'Umirma Lo yechetzu yameim. The people of blood. Domim is also another euphemism for money. People of blood and deceit will not exceed half their days. Hainu mishu ba'al machlokes. Somebody who is a dissenter, somebody who is just fighting for the sake of fighting. This is anshe domim mirma, noifel tavas moment. What happens is that when somebody, as Arena says in different Torah, that when somebody disputes a tzaddik, he falls into Tavas Moment. He falls into Tavas Moment because the tzaddik itself represents the tikkun of greed. When somebody disputes him, he's fighting the tzaddik. Automatically, he falls into what the tzaddik, the opposite of what the tzaddik represents, which is greed. And he says, "V'yom kolin b'redifa chamoisros," and his days are spent in vain of running after excess and luxuries. They won't pass half the amount of their days. When a person has 100, he wants 200. He has 1 million, he wants 2 million, 10 million, 100 million. He has 200, wants 400. They won't achieve half means that the person does not achieve half of his greed, half of his type. As I said, somebody who is Baal Machlokes, he falls into Tavas Moment because he disputes Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael has Panim the Kedusha. That's the face of Kedusha. That's why he falls into the face of Sitra Achra, of Tumah. As it said on the pasuk, "V'garish mipanecha oyev," and he will chase from your face an enemy. V'yem hashmet, as we said before, when a person becomes an oyev to the tzaddik, he falls into shmad, he falls into tavas moment, which all the desires stem from that. And this is what it says: "V'ani eftach bach." That's the opposite, the half of tavas moment is the opposite of greed. Because anybody who is steeped in Tavas Moment does not trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's basically serving all the idolatries. When I trust you, Ribbon Shalom, that you can be mezamen my parnosa with this, a small little effort, and I'll be happy with my lot. And I won't be steeped in greed, in Tavas Moment. Well, Ken is furthermore that anybody who was steeped in moment, in money, called Mashiach lo shir seisa, the more wealth he has, yeshlo dagois v'atzvus amorashchoy b'yosem. He has more worries, he has more sadness, and more rashchoy, more depression. It's not just listen, it's a normal thing if you have money, and some mela, it's a causality that you have worries and you're marbin nachas the daga and so forth and so on. He says no. It's more elemental than that. He says because a moment vashir is shalai, the money and the wealth of that person who is steeped in greed, that money itself means you'll eat it in depression. It's depression, this is a blackened faith, misa. It's in of death. The more money he has, the richer he has, the wealthier he has more sadness, more depression, more marshchar. Because his greed is a result of asfas marshchar. That's how you got your money. The entire wealth, the entire money is something that stems from marshchar and asfas. That's what Chazal says. Ma benechosim, ma bedano. The more possessions you have, the more worries you have. A person obviously worries a lot more. The more things he has to worry about, the more possessions he has. Because his possessions, they themselves are depressing. They themselves are depression. They constitute depression. The more money he has, the more wealth, and the more depression he has. The more wealth he has, the more worries he has, the more depression he is suffering from. Okay, and that's the reason why the money and the wealth, it shortens and consumes the life of a person. Because there's nothing that damages the health like worries and depression, as doctors know full well. And the money and the wealth being that it multiplies the worry and it multiplies the depression. It wastes and it consumes a person's life. Because a person is tied in the face of sitra achra. Foreign, and idols. Choshech, darkness. That's the meaning of death. Hepech o pnei melech haim. It's the opposite of the light of the face of the king is life. That's why the money itself is killing him. Because that death itself is walking death. That's about the snake. Remember, the whole thing started from the snake. What is the gestation period of a snake? And sand you will eat all the days of your life. Offer zebchinas mammon. The sand is money. And sands of gold, that's where you get the gold from, from. This is what there's an offer, he says about money. That's what offer is, a euphemism for money. That the money and the wealth offer, that the money and the wealth, which euphemistically is called offer, is called earth. Usually we explain it. This is what you will eat all the days of your life. But Rabbeinu here explains it. He says, when a person is steeped in offer, that consumes a person's days. It consumes, it eats up his life. Because the sand of atzvus, that's the midah of depression, also comes from from the element of offer. It's Tavis Momen. Moshe Kosev says in the Tikkunim, offer you karvi yavish. Tikkunim says offer from all the elements. Each one has a different temperature, and water, is a fire is hot, and water is cool and wet, and offer is and air, is ruach, is hot and wet, and the as far as I can recall, maybe dry and wet. And offer iu kav yovish, that the sand is cold and it is dry. Hachi, the same way, tchol is kar yovish. The tchol and the offer come from the same root. That is the malchus the klipa. The tchol is the source of depression. The tchol is, in comparison to the other organs of the body, it is colder and it is drier. As Kavayavish, music cold and dry means there's no chayas, there's no simcha in it. So you see, offer is also atzvus. This taivas moment that brings a person atzvus. And this is what it finishes the Kohen. Begin da because of that. And that's why sand you will eat all the days of your life. When a person falls into taivas moment, he is being connected to the nachash, connected to the snake, which is malchus the klipa. Then the offer, the sand, the element of sand, it eats all the days of his life. Ayen sham v'havanativ. This is what we need to understand. This is what they say. Betikunim tchol da ploinis, that machos the klipo, ima the erev. That's the source of erev. Schok aksil. That's the laughter of the fool. Maksil da elach. This is a foreign god. It's called a fool. Ein shavidiu askar rabbi. This is the ploinis. This chas v'chalila. It causes the illness of askara for babies. The inun chayava, these tinoikas, these babies, we're talking about the Rishon that are mixed with Am Yisrael. They don't have any seichel like babies, and plainis, that's the female of the Sitra Achra Chayches Be'om Be'utra Be'hay Alma. It plays around with them with wealth. What do you want? You want a private plane? No problem. You want a yacht? Take 10. You can own whatever you want, no problem. It fools around with them. It gives them wealth in this world. And afterwards, that klipa itself kills them. Those that are steeped in money. And these are bivchinas tchol. The multiple of worries. What I'm going to do with this, what I'm going to do with that. Take care of this and take care of that. And they are connected, totally connected with the face of Achra. El Achra. Shekol zeh b'chinas tchol. All this is a b'china of tchol. Ima de Erev, the mother of all evil, of Erev. Schok exil. That's the amusement of the fool. This is what's written, and afterwards it kills them. Kills them. Their money is actually death. Up in chashuchin, a darkened face. This is what it says. Matzah or moitzah. In the olden days, in the Gemara, it says when a person got married, the next day, his buddies would ask him, matzah or moitzah? So what's the deal with you? How do you know? How's your wife? Did you matzah or moitzah? There is one pasuk that says, matzah isha matzah toiv. You found a woman, you found good. There's another pasuk that says, moitzah nisa isha marmi maves. I found a woman more bitter than death. So they're asking him, there's a lot of vertlech about this particular Indian. Why this? Why that? Was matzah moitzah? Because if you're already taking your wife for granted, means that she's good. Because we take good for granted, but if you're still finding your wife, she still make you miserable. You know, you never get used to that. This is Moitza. So supposedly, uh, that's a nice question to ask somebody who just got married. What do you want to put them down? You want them to make them depressed? You want to put discord between the husband and wife? Why are they asking him that? But what they're actually telling him is as follows: whether your wife is matzah or moitza is not up to her. It's up to you. If you will make your wife happy, then she will make you happy. You'll have a matzah. If you will only have yourself in mind, you'll be moitza seishamami mavas. I had a very cute thing from Rabbi Yoeli Roth from Eichel HaKodesh, and he said there was this couple. The husband will come home, and he would wait. You know, expecting to come home. Maybe I'll come home. My wife will give me some, cut some cantaloupe. Give me some grapes. Ask me how my day was. He would come home, and his wife would be in the bedroom, and she expected him to come and ask her how was her day, and she will tell her about her day. She'll come out. She'll cut him a cantaloupe, give him grapes. In other words, he was waiting for her, and she was waiting for him. And the result, they basically spend their lives like two strangers. In this cold, because everybody wanted the other one to be the first one to make the first step. One day, for Pesach or whatever, she gives him a shopping list, and he goes shopping and he buys everything. And at the very end, she wrote him, "Well done." Now, in America, well done is a brand of Easy Off, this kind of an oven cleaner. But he looks at the tzad and says, "Well done, wow." She gave me a compliment. She gave me a whole list of things. You've done all this, well done, shkoyach. And he becomes very happy. He says, "You know what? She gives me a compliment. I'm going to buy an ice cream, maybe some flowers with a little tzedakah." And says how wonderful she is. And he comes home, he gives it to her, and she's so happy, whatever it is. She starts, looking at all the stuff that he bought, and says, "Where's the well done?" So when they find out that this is what confusion, they both laugh, whatever it is. Matzah and moitza is up to you. It's not, what kind of wife you got, but actually they told him the kind of wife that you got is actually up to you. That's written in the Tikkunim. I find the woman when she's mistreated, when a person is all about me, this is anybody that runs after money is glued to the Machas Yitrach Hashem Racham. He turns his wife into Machas Yitrach, which is told that his parnasa is mami mavas. His parnasa is more bitter than death. And upchinas atzvus moshcha. Ach, parnasa the kedusha. However, when parnasa is b'kedusha, it's with holiness the way it's supposed to be. A person is connected to Shechina. There's first a machus the kedusha. Upchinas matzah isha matzah toiv. You find a woman that's a parnasa, you find good. The upchinas tzaddik. Ein tov ala tzaddik. Tzaddik is called good. Ki tzaddik ha'emes, the tzaddik ha'emes, the true tzaddik, and all the people who are connected to him. In other words, the one who is actually has shmis bris the way it's supposed to be. Nitzol mizeh, he's being safe in that because the money doesn't hurt him. The one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes will be saved from her. It's a very, very important nakuda to understand. Because it seems to us when we are getting into Avodas Hashem, we are falling almost on a daily basis into Tavas Momen, into licentious thoughts, into things that we should not fall into. So we can come, and ask ourselves, like, here I am, I'm close to the tzaddik, I'm learning his Torah, it seems to me that I'm the same bum that I always were. I'm just like anybody else. But it's not so. If you are connected to the tzaddik, if you're doing whatever it is that you can, even when you fall into Taivas moment, even if a person chas v'chalila falls into Pgama Bris, into Machshavas Ni of Hashem Yerachem, that actually acts as a bouncing board to get back to Kedushin, to do tshuva. Shevei Pol Tzaddik v'kam. 7 times the tzaddik falls down and he gets up again. When somebody's not connected to the tzaddik, when he falls all the way through. When somebody's connected to the tzaddik, he falls because that's the way to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to fight those things that you fall into. But when you are Tov Lifnei Elokim, when you are already you belong to Hashem's camp. You're already Tov Lifnei Elokim, even when you fall into greed, even when you fall into Hashem Yerachem, into Taivas Niyuv, it's not a static situation. It's not a one-way street. You hit it and you bounce away from it. It awakens you to do tshuva all over again. That's why he said Tikuna Ma'ikurav, why the Rishonim that are mixed with Am Yisrael are called babies. Begin the lois beon das lishtozel they don't have das to save themselves from the plonis, from the machos the klipa. Avalev mebin, but our hearts that understands. Ishtove minei the Toman Tzaddik, that person that has a heart, he is saved from it because he has the tzaddik. Rather the milah and the sod of this particular thing, Tolif Elokim, imolot mimenu. The one who is good before Hashem will be saved from it. Kitzur chochma v'das godel. You have to have a lev mevin. You have to have an understanding heart. That the money will not hurt the person. That it should not consume the person's days. Because most people are very easily entrapped in it. The money and wealth kills them, consume the days and kills them. The only way you can be saved with this is through tzaddik. Somebody who's connected to tzaddik, that guards his bris with total perfection. Ashrei. And B'ezrat Hashem, when we will get next week, we will get to we call the runway. And finish this Torah and encapsulate it. There's so much that is embedded in this Torah. If a person wants to actually learn and find out everything that this Torah contains, you have to take Likutey Tfilos and daven Tefillah 23, which corresponds to this. Everything's connected to it. The thoughts, the tikkun bris, the taivas moment, the machshavas, everything is in there. This Torah contains the keys to latching on to Etz Chaim. B'ezrat Hashem will get us to where we need to get. Just a couple of words before we get off about tomorrow night, with Shri Shal Pesach. The secret of Shri Shal Pesach is the secret that Arizal basically lost his child in order to reveal to Rabbi Chaim Vital. And the secret was when Moshe Rabbeinu came onto Yamsuf, and he cried out to Hashem, and Hashem told him, "Ma titzak elai, why are you calling out to me? Tell the people, the Jewish people, and let them continue, let them go into Yamsuf." And so the Zohar says, "Matitzak elai, why are you crying to me?" Because Moshe Rabbeinu was crying to the Kodesh Baruch Hu, to Zer Anpin. Zer Anpin said, "Has nothing to do with me. That's beyond my pay grade." But Tiko Tali Milso, that's what you're asking for, is dependent on that high level of Atiko Kadisha. And that particular thing that Moshe Rabbeinu is crying about, because Baruch Hu telling him it's not up to me, it's up to Atiko, is in order to sort of like explain what that dilemma was and why Kadosh Baruch Hu cannot answer him, is because any kind of geula, any kind of salvation, constitutes of the yichud of Kudsha B'Richu Shrimtei. Kudsha B'Richu is the level of Zer Anpin, when it's begadlus, and the malchus is begadlus, the moich the gadlus. It's very much like, when does a couple get married? When can they have children? When they achieve a certain degree of maturity. It's called moich the gadlus. Then they can have children. Helech hazer. But when they're still bekatnos, when it's still a boy and a girl, there's no yichud there. There's no yichud is possible because there's no moichin there. So Al Pi Kabbalah, the union of Shvi Shal Pesach is when both Zer Anpin and the Malchus are both b'merchen de katnas, and constricted consciousness. In other words, even if one of them is merchen de katnas, it's already something which is not fruitful, and it's something that cannot be. Something that says, does a ketano, can she get pregnant? Can she not get pregnant? It's machlokes in the Gemara, Maseches Yevamos. Sometimes she can get pregnant, but it's dangerous for her. Sometimes she cannot get, whatever it is, whatever the tendency is. But if both are ktanim, if a boy is less than 9 and a girl, so they're not capable of progeny. There's no gadlus there. In Yamsuf, Am Yisrael comes out of Mitzrayim. Both Zer Anpin and the Malchus are both in Merchen de Kadmos. Moshe Rabbeinu says we need to be saved. Kadosh Baruch Hu says it's not up to me. There's the usual way of getting Zer Anpin and Malchus, connected, does not work here. What do you need to do? You need to connect to Atika Kadisha. You need to totally be mevatel yourself and annul yourself to a bechina that is way, way, way above you. All the moichins are there. Then you can get the Yeshua. We are all in this particular bechina of Yitzis Mitzrayim that our Zer Anpin is b'moichin de katnas and our Malchus moichin de katnas. The only way that we can get out of Mitzrayim is for mevatel ourselves to Atika Kadisha, to the Tzaddikim, and with that das, each and every one of us, Bezrat Hashem, will get out of Mitzrayim. I want to wish all of you, Hashem Agit Yontov, should have a good Shabbos. We finally, get to experience American style Yontov, as it were. You get 2 days, and America, Chutzlas, you can get 3 days in a row. We get 2 days in a row. Usually it's not something that happens. So, Bezrat Hashem should all have a good Yontov and good Shabbos. And Atzlocha B'chol Einyonim.
Thank you so much.
Next time we'll meet will be Mirz Hashem on Motzei Shabbos, Sipur Baal Shem Tov, Sichas Haran, all kinds of good stuff.